Hi, thank you for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. I'm Andrea. Today would be a good day to have a chair, I'm just saying. I think it's really great for balance, and we're going to be doing a bit of balancing today. I'm standing on a yoga mat. If you don't have a yoga mat, it's fine. A carpeted area, not too slick, will do the trick. Also a couple of blocks, heavy books, could do with that, and then a folded blanket. Maybe that's the throw blanket from your couch or a bath towel. We'll get started, as we often do, in Tadasana mountain pose. So feet hip distance. Really feel your feet sink into the earth. It's part of finding balance, is a sturdy and at least somewhat steady foundation. Turn your palms away from each other. Lean your head back just a little, and I don't mean lift your chin. Let your chin stay parallel to the ground. Just think ears over shoulders, over hips, over heels, with your gaze at what I like to call our bright horizon. Be here for a moment. Truly be here now. And let our landing bring you to your breath. Try to breathe in and out through your nose, ideally for the duration of our time together, if you can. Mostly what I would like is for you to bring awareness to that breath. So pay attention to your breathing. Let's take just a couple moments to simply pay attention to our breath, feel our feet in the earth, and the crown of our head to the sky in silence. We'll add to our mountain pose. Inhale, arms out and up, a V shape overhead. And then exhale, float your arms alongside you, palms face out. Inhale, arms out and up, a V shape. And then float your arms along your sides. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky. Ready? Come up onto your tiptoes. Find a little balance with a little bit less real estate on the ground. Lower your heels, lower your arms along your side, and pause. Again, inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, a V shape. Come up onto your tippy toes, but notice it's an uplift of your belly. It's a fixing of your gaze. So if you're looking all over the place, you're going to kind of go all over the place. Chin parallel to the ground. We're gazing at our bright horizon. And then lower your heels and float your arms alongside you. Pause and breathe. One more time like that. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, a V shape. And then we just playfully come up onto our toes. What I like to think of is that my inner thighs are spinning back behind me. So I get a little bit of a plumb line, a little bit of a midline to hang things on. And that my outer hips are hugging in, if that makes any sense. Keep your gaze at your bright horizon. 2 more moments here. And then lower your heels and float your arms alongside you, palms face out. And there's a smile to our collarbones. And a smile as we begin our balancing practice. This is where having that chair, I think, is going to be your friend. So we'll take the chair and use the back of the chair here. And then right foot like a kickstand off to the side. Now, it's very tempting to have your left hip hug or swing out to the side. Hug that left hip in, sort of like I said, outer hips hugging in when we were on our tippy toes and balancing. This is going to be the leg that we're balancing on. You can stay with the kickstand here, or place the foot onto the calf if it works there. So you're the expert of your body and of your yoga practice. I am simply your guide. Keep hugging that left hip into the midline. There might be the option at some point of putting the foot into the inner thigh. This is not a goal, these are just options. Enjoy the option you've landed on. Right arm out to the side, thumb to the sky, maybe a V shape with that hand. Definitely outer left hip hugging in. If it's fun and playful and the balance feels like it's there today, and some days it will be and some days not so much, you could take your left arm, thumb to the sky, a V shape. And maybe that's just sort of playing with that potential. We'll stay for a couple moments here. Can you find that bright horizon with your gaze? Are you breathing? Now take your left hand onto the chair, hug that left hip in, take your right hand onto your hip, point your right foot forward or your right knee forward, and then step back into your mountain. So from our mountain, we grow a tree. I am going to move my chair. You don't need to move your chair. I think it's best if you turn that short edge of your mat to face me, and then you can be eyeballs on, I think, the whole time. I'm actually coming off my mat to show you. I mean, you could do that if you want to. Here I am in my mountain, and my right hand comes to the back of the chair here. Now, kickstand with my left foot, ball of the left foot on the ground, and then the heel is touching onto the inseam of my right leg. Hug your right hip in, so that's kind of an important part of the whole puzzle, the whole balancing puzzle. And then perhaps your left foot travels up to the calf, and that would be fine. I just want you to keep thinking of hugging that right hip into the midline. Maybe the option at some point of putting the left foot into the right inner thigh comes up. It's not important that it go there ever. Just enjoy your beautiful tree. Left arm out to the side, thumb to the sky. A V shape, we don't go any higher than that. And there's no need to go any further than where we are right now, unless it's fun. We want this to be playful. So if it's playful and fun and your right hip keeps hugging into the midline, maybe you extend both branches out to the side. Not important. If you got one branch in the sky, you're good. Last couple of moments here. Remember, we're breathing, we're gazing, we're balancing. There's little teeny tiny movements, aren't there, in our balance. And then right hand onto your chair, left hand onto your hip. Point your left knee forward, maybe it's your left foot if it's low to the ground, and then step back into your mountain and just pause for a second. Makes you appreciate having 2 feet solidly on the ground, doesn't it? Now let's move our chair, our props, if you move them with me. Not that you needed to. And then you may want to have the seat of your chair for our next thing. If you're using blocks, allow me to show you how to set those up. We want to move our props mindfully, just like we move our bodies mindfully as we practice. So your blocks can go their tallest on either side of your mat, but you don't want them underfoot. So it's part of the mindfulness is that we've got space to play with. And then step your feet in between your blocks, hip distance. Remember, my friends that want to use the seat of the chair, perfect. You may need that pulled in as we go. Turn your palms away from each other. Find the majesty of your mountain. And then inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and take your hands onto the tops of your thighs. Inhale, your heart forward, either hands onto your chair or hands come onto your blocks. And then step your left foot back and let your right foot be forward. Now I know this doesn't look like our tree pose, but it kind of borrows from our tree pose in that we want the hips to hug into a midline. So we can balance here in a lunge. And I know with our hands on blocks or our hands on the base of the chair, it doesn't really quite feel like a balancing pose, but if we start letting things swing out, the balance will fall away. So we want to find stability. Right hip hugs in. Left hip moves a tiny bit forward, almost like it's looking to kiss your right block or to kiss your chair. And then just 2 moments here as if we were standing in our mountain, but we happen to be in a lunge. And we'll step left foot, hip distance from right, hands to your thighs. Inhale, heart forward. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, V shape. And then arms along your side. Again, inhale, arms out and up. Our second side. Exhale, hinge at your hips and take your hands onto your thighs. Inhale, traction, some length into your spine, and then either hands onto the chair or hands onto your tall blocks. And this time the right foot steps back and we make our way into a lunge shape. We refine the lunge shape by feeling almost as if that left heel is tractioning back. It's not going to move anywhere, but you can start with the ground. Remember, our feet in the earth was our stability, so that we can draw the left hip back and the right hip forward. Draw our low belly in and make some long spine beauty happen in our lunge. 2 more moments. And then we'll step right foot, hip distance from left foot, hands to thighs. Inhale. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, and then float your arms alongside you. Adding on, inhale, arms out and up. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs. Inhale your heart forward and then hands either onto the chair or onto your blocks. Step your left foot back. And this time, once you find that balance, come upright, thumbs to the sky. Arms out to the side, maybe in a V shape. Now we really want to feel right hip drawing back, left hip drawing forward, because once this starts swinging out to the side, especially now that we're upright, it's tricky to balance. Now if this feels like plenty, just stay with this, it's perfect. If you want to playfully begin to straighten your front leg and really test the balance, you can straighten the front leg. You want that right hip drawing back and that left hip drawing forward. And then begin to bend your front knee. Return your hands to your blocks or to the base of your chair, and then step your left foot, hip distance from your right, hands to your thighs. Inhale. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Inhale, arms out and up, a V shape. And then float your arms along your side. Second side, inhale, arms out and up. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to your thighs. Inhale your heart forward and bring your hands to your chair or to your blocks. Step your right foot back. Get solid in our lunge. We took some time to really lay down our foundation at the beginning and then use that foundation to rise. It's often called root to rise. Thumbs to the sky, arms out to the side. It's that feeling of traction of the left heel back and the right hip forward. And this is plenty. If you want a V shape, that's fine. If it was fun on the first side, maybe you give it a go on this second side to super slow motion, straighten your left leg. You want to keep lifting the low belly. Keep breathing. And then bend your left knee. And return your hands to your blocks or take your hands to the base of your chair. Right foot hip distance from left, hands onto your thighs. Inhale. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Inhale, arms out and up, and then pause in your mountain. Now inhale, arms out and up. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs. Ready? Inhale, heart forward. Take your hands onto the chair base. If you're using your blocks, I want you to be very careful that your head does not get lower than your hips on this. So using your hands on the base of your chair, keep a bend in your right knee. Just start to play with floating your left leg back behind you for some balance. Now you can be kind of light on your fingertips here or light on your hands on your blocks. And like I said, if you're using your blocks, I want you to be really careful that you don't go head lower than hips. I think really seat of chair is the perfection here. Now if you want to be playful and just lift your hands a few times off the chair or even make a little prayer underneath your heart here, all good. 2 balancing moments here. Now lift in your belly. So we dismount the left foot, hip distance from the right, hands on your thighs. Inhale. Exhale, hinge at your hips, and then inhale, arms out and up in a V shape. And then float your arms along your sides. Great, second side, inhale, arms out and up, we reach. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs. Inhale, heart extends, hands to the base of the chair. Maybe a couple of you are going to use your blocks. Now stand on the left foot with a bend in your knee. Be playful, go slowly. Find your balance incrementally as we go, and we lift that right leg a little bit and a little bit and a little bit behind us. Whether your hands are on the chair or your hands are on the blocks, your head is higher than your hips, your low belly is lifting, and you're breathing and just playing with balance. And maybe your hands get a little bit lighter on that chair from time to time. You play with some balance there. Maybe the balance feels solid enough that you bring a little prayer underneath your chest from time to time. A couple more moments of play here with, again, relatively little real estate on the ground. And then take your hands to your chair. Carefully step your right foot hip distance from your left and then hands onto your thighs. Inhale, heart lifts. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Float your arms along your side. We'll use a sun salutation to bring ourselves to the floor gracefully. Inhale, arms out and up. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs. Inhale your heart forward. You could use the chair base or your blocks as a part of this beautiful, seamless transition to the floor. And then once on the floor, a different set of props I think are going to serve us. That folded blanket I told you about, or your folded towel, are the perfect ingredients to go underneath your knees as we come onto our hands and knees. Now when you place your hands, you want to make sure they're not too close to you. You can just look at me and notice that that would just not be a good idea, right? Too much extension at the wrist. And then we don't want them too far forward or we're going to lose control of it and scrunch our shoulders into our ears. So you want to feel shoulders over wrists and then low belly lifting. Now take your right foot back behind you with your toes curled under, almost like the lunge that we did, except now we're on our hands and knees. Sort of like a flirt with a plank. Push your hands into your mat so we're not collapsing. Keep your low belly lifting. And now take your left arm, thumb to the sky, reaching out in front of you. As if you're going to shake somebody's hand. This is plenty. There's actually quite a bit of balance happening here. Maybe you lift your right leg. And what I want is for us to not collide into that right shoulder. So keep pushing the ground away. Be willing, if it's better, to put that right foot back down on the ground or to come out of the whole thing anytime you need to. 2 moments. Maybe you can feel the inhales grow you long from your fingertips to your heels. And the exhale remind you to lift your low belly towards your spine. And then left hand down and right knee down. Come kneeling. And we'll do some wrist twirls, either direction. And then change directions. Once your wrists feel like they're okay, hands and knees. We want to measure up once again. Shoulders over wrists, because we're using this as our foundation to balance. Now we're balancing with load bearing on our arms. So once we're shoulders over wrists, step your left foot back as if flirting with a plank, your toes curl under. Almost looks a little bit like the lunges that we did if you think about it. And now your right arm reaches forward, thumb to the sky. There's oomph in your left arm. Maybe, only if it feels like a good idea, might you lift your left leg. And remember when we were balancing on our tippy toes and I said, it feels like my inner thighs are spinning back behind me? Imagine this left inner thigh spinning to the sky. And then just stay with it, keep the oomph happening in that left hand, the low belly lifting. Remember, if you need to leave it and come back to kneeling before I mention that, no problem. 2 moments where we grow longer through our right fingertips and our left heel. And then right hand down, left knee down. We kneel and we do our twirling of wrists, one direction. And then twirling of wrists, the other direction. We'll be using our folded blanket, but mine is flattened out more when I do what we just did. So let's fold it once or twice more, so it gives us a little taller seat. The kind of rule of thumb as we come to a cross-legged seat is that you don't want to have your knees super high compared to your hips. So usually when we lift our hips with a blanket, it helps. Let's design our cross-legged seat as well. So instead of it being across at the ankles, just start to walk your feet away from one another. So it feels as though you're on your way to ankles underneath knees, and it sort of feels like both of your hips are doing a tree pose at the same time. Now I know this doesn't seem like a balancing pose, but there is some very subtle balance here. We don't want to roll back onto the back of our sit bones and collapse. So you can think of just gently rolling forward. Maybe you feel that against your cushion here, so that you really are atop your sit bones. Part of the balance too can be helped by curling your toes back, so flexing in your feet. And then you want a balance of effort and surrender. You feel that happening in your pose? You feel that in your breath, the effort of the inhale, the ease of the exhale. How's it going finding your bright horizon in this pose? We'll stay here for a little moment of meditation, which is balancing out the rigorous work, the balancing work on one leg that we did, with the balance of feeling the subtleties of your sit bones and the nuance of the rise and the fall of your breath, just like the root to rebound that we spoke of in our standing poses. I'm going to be quiet for a full minute of meditation here together, starting now. A full minute. Way to go with the balance. And speaking of balance, let's cross the other shin in front. So lean back a little bit, give your legs a little bit of a waggle, and then cross your left shin in front of your right shin. Remember that we want ankles kind of underneath the knees. We're perched up so that we've got that nuance of coming forward on the sit bones a little bit, not rolling back and becoming like a Dracula looking thing, right? And then this time in our meditation, if you want to wander just carefully forward, it's not the Dracula rounding, it's a hinge at the hip like our sun salutation, and your hands might just go fingertips out in front of you. Maybe it feels a little bit like our one-legged balance on your chair when we talked a lot about keeping a long spine. We talked about that in our lunge also. So it's like a big soup, our practice. The poses change, but a lot of the principles stay the same. And the other thing that stays the same is our breath and our focus. I'll be silent for a full minute here. A full minute. Come on up. Now, we'll waggle the legs out, but I've got other plans for us. Once we've waggled them, we're going to balance out the bent knees that we just did with some straight legs. So start to just let your legs go apart. They don't have to go very far. Remember, a little bit forward on our sit bones. And just because we're moving in the direction of straight legs doesn't mean that all of us will get there. So maybe a little bend needs to stay in your knees. There's no shame in that, because this is quite a stretch in the inner thighs, in the hamstrings, and probably you note other things If it's helpful to take your 2 books or blocks on either side of your hips to help you to sit tall, that's great too. Now, if it's quite easy for you to have your legs straight and you're able to keep your toes curled towards the sky and you want a hip hinge and just a little bit of walking forward, great. We're still not Dracula, and we're still on the front of our sit bones. And it's more the feedback of what you're feeling, so it's the feels and not what it looks like that are your guide. We'll be here for a full minute of silence. Take a moment. If you want to close your eyes, you can close your eyes. If you'll lengthen your spine, a rooting in your sit bones that gives you the rise of the crown of your head. 1 minute of silence. Now, if you walked yourself out, walk yourself back in. Help it along. So now we're balancing what's called externally rotated action in the hips with neutral. Just a fancy way of saying now we're going to bring the legs together after they've been apart, first with bent legs and then with straight legs. And then curl your toes back towards you. Your hands can be on blocks. We're not even going to bother with a forward fold, but we're just going to almost feel like we're sitting at attention with the toes curled back, our heart to the sky. And that feeling of plumb line bringing back into a midline like we spoke of when we first were on our tiptoes at the beginning of this practice, remember? And then bend your knees and place your feet on your mat to come off of your perch. Lie down on your back. Let your knees be to the sky and your feet be as wide as your mat. And then knock knee your knees. They're falling in on one another, which is a really good counterbalance to our cross-legged seat. Snuggle one shoulder and then the other underneath you. Pick up your hips just 1 inch. Grow longer in your torso and then gently place your hips back down. And you can stay just like this for our final Shavasana meditation. Or you could extend one leg and then the other with your feet flopping open. It's a great place to close your eyes. Maybe cover your eyes. And then silence for the rest and digest moment in our practice. Shavasana. You're always welcome, in fact, encouraged to stay here in your final Shavasana meditation as long as you'd like. If you're ready, wiggle fingers and toes. You can stretch your arms and legs in opposite directions. Gather up your knees into your chest. Roll to either side slowly and let your head be the last thing to come up. So we still feel in balance. And then any comfortable seat, cross-legged maybe like we did on our perch. Palms can go up or down. This is such an ultimate balance to the busyness of our life, don't you think? Balance is so many things. Sometimes on our tiptoes, sometimes in the big, huge lens of our life. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I look forward to us doing it again soon.